Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, good morning. Food security, what does it mean? How do we solve it? Affect us. I will touch upon each of these topics in my presentation. What does food security mean? This concept has always existed and it will continue to always exist. It means different things to different groups of people. Basic survival, the need to eat to survive. Health, the need to provide healthy food to the right people. Milk programs across the world have been initiated to fight diabetes. Political, the need to put for the people to rebel or not to rebel. Chairman Mao used food security as a major part of his propaganda. I will provide a bowl of rice to each Chinese. And it worked. The United Nations estimate that food demand will rise by an estimate 70% by 2050 due to the rise of demographics and urbanization. Whatever the meaning, the problem is still the same. We are facing an increasing challenge of raising living standards for a growing number of people. We need to provide sufficient quantities of three related items: food, water, energy. How do we solve this? In the past, we used to send our armies to conquer new land, new fertile arable land. By fertile, I mean access to fresh water. To give you a few statistics, 0.8% of the world's surface is fresh water. The agricultural sector consumes 70% of all fresh water available. As an example, to produce 1 kilo of grains, we use 1,000 liters of water. To produce 1 kilo of rice, we utilize 2,300 liters of water. The 300 grams of steak that we had last night, we used 6,600 liters of water. So as our demand for food increases, our demand for water will increase exponentially. China. Today, China is self-sufficient. 22% of the world's population is located in China, yet only 7% of the fresh water is in China. Half of it is not usable because of pollution. China today is the biggest grain producer in the world. However, the depletion of groundwater will yield to a drop of production. If China would have to import its food, it would mean disaster for exports, world exports. A 5% increase in the consumption of rice is equivalent to 20% of the total export of rice. In the MENA region, North Africa across to the Middle East, we are completely dependent on food imports. Because of major shortages of water and increase of population, it is very difficult for us to grow water-intensive crops. Today, across the MENA region, we import between 40 and 70% of our basic foodstuff: rice, corn, and wheat. In the UAE, we import close to 100% of our foodstuff. The consumption of rice over the past 30 years has increased by more than 20% in the UAE. There have been several attempts in the MENA countries to be self-sufficient in food. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, until recently, was the 6th largest exporter of grains. Today, the country is reconsidering their strategy due to the high cost as well as the environmental issues. The Kingdom also, earlier last year, was considering banning all export of milk products, of dairy products, not because of food security, but because of the high usage of water that this industry currently uses. So what do? We look for access to cheap, arable land. Where do we find it? Africa. 15% of Africa's arable land is under cultivation. Over the past few years, investors have been crowding poor local farmers and producers, investing very little in improving the agricultural needs and inflicting serious damage to the environment, and to the society. As an example, from 2004 to 2009, 2.5 million hectares of land have been acquired in 5 small countries for only $920 million. Within the same period of time, over 5 million hectares have been acquired in the Sudan and Ethiopia. The prospect of potentially food insecure countries ceding food production resources to outside investors is a very uneasy one. And there's a precedent. Ireland. In the middle of the 19th century, over 1 million people died because of famine. Ireland's population decreased by 25% over a period of 7 years. During the same period of time, Ireland was a net exporter of food to its neighboring country. Attempts by the Irish to ban oil exports have been met by the military strength of its neighbors. No issue has provoked so much anger and embittered relations between them than this one. Its effect has permanently changed the island's demographic, political, and cultural landscape. Today, landowners in Africa have sold land at the expense of smallhold farmers and hungry populations. India, UK, Germany, MENA countries, and the list goes on, have acquired millions of hectares in Africa over the past few years. Let us not repeat history. Food security can and must be a win-win for all constituents. So what do we do? Africa today is in deep need for infrastructure development to provide a more solid framework on which to build production and food exporting capability, build roads, build ports. Sovereign investors are beginning to understand that and are looking at acquiring the necessary skills, the know-how in the agricultural sector that would complement their land acquisition. Grow wheat, corn, rice, manage water more efficiently, improve crop yields. In addition, they also understand that the need to develop infrastructure and participate in philanthropic projects and improve the society of the local farmers. In 2007, South Korea was looking at acquiring about 1.2 million hectares of land in Madagascar. In exchange, they were going to invest $6 billion in the development of ports and roads. This deal did not go through. China, MENA, and other sovereign investors are currently acquiring the technical and management skills by making strategic acquisitions in profitable and well-managed companies. This will result in the transfer of technology and improve the living standards of local populations. We all benefit. This is the win-win solution for investors, strong financial returns, for farmers, transfer of technology and better standards, for Africa, infrastructure development, and for consumer, sustainability and food security. How does it affect us? There are several impacts of rising food demands, but there are also several options. Increase price, increase the outputs, focus on new technology solutions, increase crop enhancement, better water management. What does it mean for governments? It means that subsidies will need to be continued to play a major role. What does it mean for farmers? It means more pressure to increase crop yields. What does it mean for investors? It means more opportunities to invest and reap strong financial returns while establishing strong, sustainable social benefits. We, at Credit Suisse, alongside our colleagues at other international investment banks, realize that this is a tremendous economic and social opportunity and are increasingly shaping this space through our work advising governments and corporates. We believe that the only way to secure long-term return on investments and sustainable food security is partnerships with the local populations. Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask you to stay up on stage just for a few minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a few minutes. We are expecting His Excellency and Sir Bob Geldof to join us any minute now. But I thought we'd use the time. If anybody has any questions for Saad, that was a very informative speech, Saad, and thanks for that background. I'm sure some of us are familiar and some aren't.